welcome to Transcendental Transformation, the place where spirituality and transformation unite. Host Miss Raina imparts truth so that you can break through your limiting beliefs and evolve into a deeper consciousness. As you go about your day, remember, before every breakthrough, there is a breakdown. And now, let's start the show.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Transcendental Transformation. I'm your host, Miss Raina, and today is Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022. As always, we're coming live from the Sirius Star System studios right here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I hope all is well with everybody. So it has been quite a couple of weekends, or actually a weekend. I had a fabulous time. If you guys were listening to the sessions recording that we had, if you guys aren't familiar with sessions is, we do little shows, like 20-minute segment shows every Saturday, or mostly about every Saturday, and that they're just, sometimes they're plays on the shows we've done before, and sometimes they're just whole new shows that just sometimes I want to do a little show on. But if you listen to last week's sessions, then I told you about how we had such an amazing time at the FPG event. I had such a great time. I am still, I got to be honest with you, it just felt to be good. It just felt great to get back out there. After so many years, my last trip, I believe, was in 2014, and I used to love going camping all the time, and I used to love being in nature and doing the fire circles and all that stuff, and just connecting to all those elements and everything. It was just such a great time. But I got to meet some really great people out there this time, and not like I never do. I meet great people everywhere, but these people we just connected to, and we had the classes went well that we taught. We met a lot of great people through there, and it was just a lot of fun. So I'm really excited. I can't wait for Samhain. During that time, maybe there'll be more festivals and more things that we're going to teach at, but who knows? I don't look that much for it. So tomorrow is May the 4th, and for all you Star Wars geeks out there like I am, May the 4th be with you. I am, it's just, May is full of stuff, May is just full of fun stuff. We got Cinco de Mayo the day after that, which is always fun. And here's a little fun fact for you guys. Did you know that in 1962, a group of French troops attempted to establish a monarchy in Mexico, and this was done in order to gain influence over North America. And so what Napoleon III did, not to be confused with the first Napoleon Bonaparte #1. This is his nephew, Charles Louis Bonaparte, and he sent 6,000 French troops into Mexico. And the Mexicans were greatly outnumbered, but they pulled it off and they won. And that is what known as become Cinco de Mayo. It was the win over the French and to establish the monarchy, and Mexico got free from France. It's funny because most people know that Cinco de Mayo is a drinking holiday. I mean, here in America, we turn everything into a drinking holiday. I think, we've kind of lost touch with what holidays are meant to be, but, I'm not going to judge you. Whatever you want to do is what you want to do. But yeah, and the funny thing is here's another fun fact is before in the 1980s, Cinco de Mayo wasn't even a drinking holiday until the 1980s, when a couple of the beer companies decided to target Hispanic, the Hispanic population for marketing campaigns. That's all it was. And somehow it got turned out to be what it is today, where, St. Patrick's Day and Cinco de Mayo and all these other days are just now drinking holidays. But another fun fact, I'm a nerd. I'm going to keep dishing you guys out all this information. But another fun fact that I like is that the fact that FDR, which is Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and which is one of our presidents, developed a policy called the Good Neighbor Policy in 1933. And this paved the way for Cinco de Mayo to actually become mainstream. So if you didn't have FDR creating this Good Neighbor Policy, we would never have Cinco de Mayo, because you know what? In Mexico, Cinco de Mayo isn't a big thing. insane. It's bigger here in America than it actually is in Mexico. So just think about that. And the last thing I want to do before we get into today's show, because I'm rambling on today, is I want to wish Caleb a very happy 26th birthday. He is going to be 26 years old on May 7th. And yay, congratulations. Almost to 30. Yes, I remember what it was like to be 26 years old, and I'm glad to have you in my life, Caleb. And thank you for everything. The 7 years that we've been friends, and I wish you a very happy birthday. All right, guys, with that being said, let's get into today's show. You guys know we're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, DLive, all that stuff, and you know where you can find all the replays. So let's get into tonight's show, because we're going to talk about lessons, life lessons. That's what this show is titled, right? Understanding life lessons. And it's funny because when you hear lessons, what's the first thing that gets triggered, right? Most people think of lessons as school lessons, right? Well, I gotta have books, I gotta study, I gotta do readings, I gotta do tests, I gotta have a teacher, teaching me stuff, list and comprehension, all this stuff, and my mind already starts smoking, right? Especially if you're not one that doesn't like school. I mean, I'm a nerd. I didn't like school when I was younger, but as I grew, as I matured, I realized the importance of education. And it just was one of those things that I don't mind it. I have tons of books over here. I crack open, I read through articles and studies and research all the time. I love to be a geek or a nerd, whatever you want. I know there's some people fight over the definition between nerd and geek, but that's besides the point. Anyways, but that's what we think of, right? We think of, oh, well, life lessons up, we think of the word lesson, it relates to school or books or anything like that. But actually, it's really the experiences we go through as souls, as spirits. In order for life to take place, in order for us to be here, there has to be a mission and a purpose. And this is the evolution of our soul. This is what we have to understand when we come here on earth. Most of us think that, hey, we're here on earth, we're here to make money and to have marriages and to have a nice life and to be successful and to do all this thing. And hey, we're 60, 80 years old, we retire, we sit back and say, wow, I had a really good life. I got married, I had kids, my business went well, I made good money, I had a happy life. And for most people, that's what they really think that life is about. And we know as conscious people that as we're growing in consciousness, that's not what life is about. We're here to experience. We're here to gain knowledge. We're here to find ourselves through our experiences in order for us to grow through evolution. Because you got to remember that this whole third dimension Earth thing is kind of like a little experiment in our galaxy. It's the idea of can we take all these emotional properties, all these DNAs, all these different things, and really create our energy, really create ourselves, really find the power within us, the I am, the God, the goddess, whatever, the universe, whatever you want to call it, because that is what we're looking for. But we're such a young species. We're such a young group of individuals that we haven't understood yet, because as I said, if we look on a scale of and I've told this before, we're only about 2 years old. We're only about 2 years old in our evolution. And so how much does a 2-year-old know? If you have a child that is born and lives to be about 100 years and they're 2 years old, they're going to think things and believe things because that's the only thing that they understand right now. And this is something that we're struggling with, because humanity is on an ideal to prove to themselves of how much we can grow if we're a capable species to be able to grow through our evolution, to make it into these other beings, to make it through the galaxies, to make it through the universe, to make it through ourselves, to understand who we are. Not every species, not every species in the universe does this. Not every species is capable of this. But humanity is a little bit special in that sense, because we have all these different things inside of us that are gearing towards us, that are creating all this different energies, frequencies that are creating all these different experiences, these different perspectives through self in order for us to gain this knowledge. And we, most people, hey, we call it life, right? We say, hey, life has its ups and downs. It has it has its goods and bads and rights and wrongs. And, I'm going into my no words because that goes to show us that we know very little about life and why we're here. That's why we rely on a god or a goddess or a universe. That's why we pray. When we pray, it tells us that we don't trust ourselves, that we don't realize that we are the universe. We are the god. We are the goddess, whatever you want to call it. We are the divine, and that there is no external outside source. We are it. But because we are so young in our evolution, we pray to these ideas. We think there must be something bigger and better and more knowledgeable than us. And that's because we have very limited school. We haven't gone through the evolutionary school yet, and this is what we're here to do. You are here to learn. You are here to grow. This is why we call school, why we call life school. My dyslexia, by the way, is in full gear. So, guys, I'm just letting you know I'm going to probably be saying a lot of things backwards today. So just kind of bear with me. I'm already noticing today it's been kind of rough. But this is why we call our life our school, because it is. Every single day, every single moment, we have an opportunity to see a new perspective. We have a new opportunity to gain new information. We have an opportunity to expand our awareness. And that's really what we're dealing with. That's really what we're trying to understand. We're trying to become a race, a species that is from being unaware to becoming aware, because our planet did the same thing. Every planet that is alive has experiences. It was an unconscious planet. It was a planet that grew into consciousness, and we are its product. We are its evolutionary product. The fact that humanity has been growing, the fact that humanity is growing into the state of evolution and building new technology, and to have reading and writing and all these different things, that shows us that our planet is a living being. But yet many of us don't understand that because we don't connect to it. Even people that study, like Native Americans and pagans and Buddhists, that understand that the earth and everything is one and we're all part of it, many people are unaware how much of a part of the earth and things we are. And that's what's going on, is because we don't have the knowledge. We don't understand that these consciousness are just a different form of us. And in order for us to truly grow, in order for us to learn lessons that we're supposed to be able to learn, and that we have to acknowledge who we are and where we came from. And so most of us walk around unaware, because we're unaware of why we're here, what we're meant to do. We don't realize what experiences are meant to be. We don't learn how to grow, and we don't learn that they're actually being taught to us. What do we do instead? We become angry, right? We become resentful. We become bitter. We either say God's working against us, or God's working for us, or the universe is punishing me, or whatever it is that we're suffering through. Because you're here, I guarantee you're suffering in some type of way, because if you're not, if you truly understood the way the world worked, then there would be no reason for you to be here, because you would be moved on through the consciousness, you'd be creating your own universe, and you would be out of here. You wouldn't be in this three-dimensional world trying to put all the pieces back together, all the puzzle pieces back together, so that you can align yourself with who you are in consciousness. And so, but that's the thing that we do. We take it personally, right? We take these lessons when something happens to us. Many of us, we take these things personally, because the fact, and that tells us that we're not understanding that this is information. I talk about how our emotions aren't real, and how all it is information coming, and that's the experience behind it. The experience behind it that's coming to you is the lesson that's coming. So, hey, you know what? I can go out and all of a sudden have something happen to me, and I can right away catch it and understand, say, oh, this is a lesson that's transpiring into me. This is a lesson that's coming into my information, and I need to analyze this data. I need to figure out what this is to come in, and I can't take this personally, because who cares? Let's throw out the question. Let's throw out the question why we're here, what we're here to do, because we're here. I just told you, we're here to learn. That's what we're here to learn. We're here to learn to be gods and goddesses of ourselves through I am. We're learning to be powerful. We're going to recognize one day we're all going to get to the point where all of a sudden we realize, wow, I am actually the universe. I am the thing that we call God or goddess or universe or whatever, and that there was no external thing. But because in order for us to get to that point, we have all this information that we have to understand. We have all this data that we have to understand. We have all these experiences through our own self that we have to understand. Because when we take something personally, what we're saying is that I'm not old enough yet to recognize that I'm doing this to myself. And you're going to ask me, you're going to say, wait a minute, Miss Raina, I just did not do that to myself. And yes, we do. Because whether it's in our contract or it's not, everything is a reflection. Everything is a reflection of our ideas, of our consciousness growing, because everything is a hologram, right? None of this is real. Even what we're experiencing right now as you're listening to me is you being projected inside through me in order for me to gain, or in order for you to gain that experience. So what does that mean? That means that since we know that everything is circular, there's no linear, there's no hierarchy of anything, that means that what we're doing is we're creating. We're sitting there and saying, well, hey, in order for me to gain, because life is a circle, I'm spherical, and everything that is everything that I'm experiencing is a projection, is a hologram of me. So then what do I do? So then what it does is you plan certain things. You plan these lessons. You're planning these ideas. You're saying, okay, well, I'm here to do this. Since I have to understand this form of consciousness, I have to go through each of these chakras. I have to grow through each of these ideas in order for me to master and understand this form of information, so that I can become I am, that I can become my own God, goddess, whatever you want to call it, universe. And that is where we sit there and we say, hey, I'm going to project something to myself. But I'm going to put what we call like I always say, we get our minds wide. A lot of people will call it a veil. I'm going to put a veil in front of it, and all I'm going to be able to see is very limited information, illusions, roadblocks, things like that. And I'm not going to have any emotional understanding of it yet, because I don't know what these things are. I don't know what this information is. I don't know how to go in rhythm with vibration yet. So I'm going to take things personally. I'm going to be the victim. I'm going to play the victim. I'm going to feel sorry for myself, because I have absolutely no understanding of what it is I'm doing yet. And this is where it gets in, because the moment we start to say, okay, wait a minute, there's information here. Hold on. All of a sudden, this experience is coming in, and there's roadblocks, and it's meant to trigger emotions. It's meant to make you angry. It's meant to make you take things personally. But the moment you flip the switch and you say, hey, wait a minute. Hey, you know what? I'm recognizing this right now. I'm recognizing that this is information coming to teach me. All of a sudden, something changes. Because you're going to say, well, life is against me, right? Most people think that life or God or goddess or karma or whatever they call it is against them. They really do. If you give them truth syrup and you ask them, do you feel life is working for you and against you? Even the people that say that I guarantee you 9 out of 10 people, probably mostly 10, and that would sit there and say life is working against me, is because if you're not a master creator yet, if you're not understanding how your thoughts, how your heart, how your energy, and how everything that you projected is a creation of you, then you believed somewhere unconsciously that life is working against you. because that is what we understand. Because hey, if I'm not recognizing that these things that are coming in to me are lessons, if these things are coming into me to help me reflect inward, because if we look at the body, if we look at the mind, the heart, everything, and we, and we go inside, what do we find inside? We find portals. We find its own universe. Every cell, every part of the body, everything that's going on, your chakras, everything is its own universe. Everything is encoded in information. And so what's the difference between in here, out there, and right here? Nothing. It's all the same. But because we are very limited in our consciousness, because we purposely put a veil so that this experience feels real, all of a sudden we become from understanding. We can't understand it. And this is why this teaches us about what is going on through emotion. This is why, even though emotions aren't real, they're necessary. It's a necessary part of life to understand vibration, to understand who you are, to work through, because emotion helps us reflect. And so when we understand that, hey, emotions aren't real, it's just information. So now I can see this information. Instead of having an emotional reaction towards it, I can reflect, I can dig deep, I can I can analyze these things. All of a sudden, life changes. We'll be right back after these messages from I Am Evolution.
The human experience is changing, and consciousness is evolving into something higher than any of us could ever imagine. As we transform into more sentient beings, a new world of connected consciousness is taking place. Welcome to I Am Evolution, the movement in human development that transforms the human experience into a deeper consciousness through perspective and duality. Are you ready to be a part of the next stage in human evolution? Call I Am Evolution today to schedule your appointment at 561-318-0006. That's 561-318-0006. Or email us at iamevolution@protonmail.com.
All right, everybody, we are back, and if you're just joining us, we are talking about life lessons. And actually, we're getting a little bit deeper than kind of my notes say and everything like that, because it just sometimes you got to go with what you feel. So what is the we talk about lessons we experience versus lessons that are education, and there is no difference, because experience equals education. And so the 1 and 2 are the same, and we have to be able to understand what it is that the information that we're getting. We have to understand that what our lessons are going to become, because if we can't recognize that, hey, this is something that came into my life, and instead of taking it personal, I'm going to look at it as education, because school, right? School is meant, we get the fact that school is here to teach us, right? It's meant to teach us, right? We don't go in school and look at and go to the and sit down in biology or science or math or whatever you're taking, law, whatever, and you don't just sit there and look at the teacher with disgust and anger and just be like, I can't believe he's teaching me this, or I can't believe she's teaching, how dare she give me a test, like no, we don't do that, because we know that that person has information, and in order for us to grow and become more educated for later in life, we need to learn that information. And so we just, okay, I know a lot of us don't like homework and tests and stuff, and I wasn't a big fan of it either when I was young, and so I get that, but at the same time, my point is we don't take it personal from teachers, because we understand that these things are meant to teach us. This is information to help us grow and evolve later. And so lessons, whether they're life lessons or in school lessons, it's the same thing. We're here to learn, we're here to grow. Every experience that you have is meant to help you gain knowledge of who you are, because that is the main goal. The main goal in life is not to be successful, like I said. It's not to have children and a family and all that stuff. Hey, that's great if you have that, but that's not the main goal of why you're here. Every time you are here, it is meant to sit there so you can go inward and figure out who you are. every single life, through every perspective, is meant to teach you how to master who you are and understand who you are. And so you come as a different race, you come as a different gender, you come as different heights, different weights, different things, just so that you can have all the possible experiences, because this is what makes a conscious person. It's and that's one of the reasons why we have a thing called duality. That's one of the reasons why we have a thing called separation, because in order for us to learn lessons, in order for us to be able to gain the knowledge that we have to have tests, right? Because a teacher teaches us things, and then all of a sudden, after they think we've learned it, they have a test to test your knowledge. Well, this is no different. Separation, duality is the same thing. If I'm going to experience something, then I need to experience something, because life is circular. I'm a sphere. And so I need to experience everything in many different possibilities so that I can encompass all the knowledge. I just don't want one sliver of the pie. I'm looking at that cherry pie and I'm like, this is really good. I want to devour this thing because I love cherry pie, even though I can't eat it anymore. And that, but I just don't want that one sliver. I want the whole knowledge, because even though your personality might be like, I don't like school, I don't like this stuff, I don't want to learn, your soul and your spirit are still, which are the grander thing. Because remember, this body is just a projection. It's not real. You are not real. Your spirit and your soul are. This is just a hologram that you've created so that you can experience life in that. So this whole idea of duality, this whole idea, you have to be able to gain the full knowledge. And so this is why there's no such thing as karma or good luck or bad luck or right or wrong, positive and negative, backwards, forwards, better, worse. There's no such thing. Why? Because the idea of growth comes from the knowledge of the whole thing. We can't, in order for us to gain each sliver of pie, I mean, most of us just don't sit down and eat the whole pie at once. We don't just pick up the whole pie and shovel it down in our mouth, right? And say, good, right? No, we pick up one piece. We may have a second piece, and then we say, okay, I'm full. And then later on, we have a third piece. And that's what life is doing to you as well. You're getting slivers of pieces at the same time, at different times of your life. Okay, I'm going to have this experience. I'm going to be taught this. I'm going to be set up for this in my childhood. And then later in life, I'm going to be thrown tests. I'm going to be thrown experiences. I'm going to be throwing things that I can't see, because the whole point of duality is to bring us back into unity. It is always to bring us back into who we are, as far as who am I. To understand who you are, and not just every other life you've had, but every other life you will be, and including this life. Because how many times do we evolve through this life? How many times do we change? I mean, I use it all the time. I mean, if you're 40, I'm 44 years old. If I don't think the same as I did 10 years ago. I don't think the same as I did 20 years ago or 30 years ago. I don't. I was a totally different person back then. I was, ready to take on the world, cocky, all that stuff, because and I was just rejecting the world. And I think totally different now, because through my experiences of duality, it helped me regain my self of unity. It helped me regain that, hey, all this stuff, I'm over all this stuff. I just want to find me. I just want to know me. I just want to understand all the infinite possibilities that I can be, that I can experience. And so every day I seek quietness. I seek solitude. I don't, I go in a crowd of people. I'll sit there by myself, be totally content, and gaining knowledge just by observation. Because remember, every person around me is me, just experiencing in a different perspective. And this is something that we have to grow in. If we're going to understand what life lessons are all about and understand why they're happening, then we have to understand that every single person in us is just a different every single person around the world is just a different perspective of who we are. And this is something that's so foreign to us, even though a lot of people say, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. And that, but at what level do you know? If you can't recognize yourself in every single person, then the level of consciousness of understanding, yes, we are all one, isn't quite there. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But, but a lot of times we like to trick ourselves into thinking that we know more than we know, because, we have an experience, and, we're actively going through it. And we perceive it with all our senses. We get the information, and then we think, hey, I know everything there is to know about it, right? And trust me, we've all done it. And some of us do it throughout our whole lives. We know the know-it-alls, right? I know at a couple class, I always have, every time I teach a class, every time I do a workshop or whatever, I always have at least one person that's the know-it-all, that always has to say something constantly throughout the workshop or through my classes or whatever, always has to, knows everything, always, in the comment sections, always has to say, hey, I can help you, to people that are trying to reach me or other people and stuff. These people have knowledge, but they don't have wisdom, because anybody can have knowledge, right? You can read 1,000 books, right? I mean, knowledge is information given, right, through experiences. Or maybe I could sit there, go on DuckDuckGo and start reading all this stuff, and yes, it'll give me knowledge, because many people confuse knowledge and wisdom. Now wisdom is the idea, is the capability of awareness to understand the information that you have. Okay, so if you have someone that is, that is considered wise, why are they wise? Are they actually wise? No, they have knowledge that they understand. It doesn't matter what field you're in. People that you look up to, people that you think, oh my God, this person knows everything, I need to be their student, or I need to learn from this person. It's because you see that they've translated the information that they got, the knowledge that they got, and they had the capability, due to awareness, to understand what their experiences, or understand the information that was presented to them. So it's the same thing with this. You could listen to this podcast 1,000 times over, and you could hear it, and you could repeat everything I say, and you have knowledge, but you don't have wisdom if you're unable to do it and transform it and to understand what it is I'm actually talking about. And that's where we have to understand what we're doing. And so people who are always acting like the know-it-alls, hey, they're trying to find themselves. They're trying, I always enjoy people that don't know anything, or they'll sit there and just soak up the knowledge, just look there doe-eyed and be like, oh my God, this, because that's how I am to the universe. I sit there and look at the sky and just, oh my God, this world's so wonderful. This universe is so wonderful. I just want to soak it all up. And the person that acts like they know it all is really trying to establish themselves. They're really trying to find themselves, and they can't ever learn because they're too busy trying to establish themselves as knowledge instead of transforming it into wisdom. So when these lessons come into your life, I want you to understand that these lessons are meant to teach you something, to give you information, to feed your soul. Because let me tell you something, your soul is thirsty. It wants, it really does. It's hungry and thirsty for knowledge. It really does. Even if you're the type of person that's come here with your blueprint that says, oh, I'm going to be, lazy. I'm going to be this person. Your soul is still collecting this stuff. Your spirit is still collecting this stuff. Because remember, this is all a hologram of everything. Of just my consciousness saying, hey, I'm here. This is what I'm doing. And the why, and the thing is that when you evolve, when you start to gain consciousness and you start to gain awareness, you want to pass that information on. Someone who, and it's not because, hey, look at me, look at how wise I am. The people that pass on because they realize that the information that they've learned, that the knowledge and the wisdom that they can gain, or give to somebody else for them to grow in consciousness, for one day that they will find who they are and understand who they are and become their own universe. that is the cycle of life lessons. That's the true cycle. It's not always just having the same thing repeat in our lives and just kind of destroy us. It's not that. The true cycle is saying, hey man, you know what, I smacked myself, I beat myself up, this lesson kicked my butt, you know, it was uncomfortable, it was painful, but I took the knowledge, I finally transformed it into wisdom, because now I understand it. I let go of the emotional aspect, because there's no need. You get out of here, emotions. There's no real thing, so I don't need that anymore. I'm just going to take everything, and now let me pass my wisdom on to you. Let me pass and to what I know. And that's why I created the radio show. That's why I do what I do, because I'm just taking what I've learned and just passing on, hoping that whoever's listening to these shows grows, that it'll absorb and like a seed, it'll flower one day and take roots and start to grow and change, and so that you can grow in consciousness. And to me, that's rewarding, because hey, you know, we're not getting paid for this show, and that we're doing this all out of pocket and everything like that, because the knowledge, because the consciousness of evolution, the consciousness of growing, the consciousness of evolving is the most important thing. And when I realized that all you people watching and listening right now are me, I want you to grow, because that means we're, as a collective, I'm you, you're me, and we're all growing. So and all I'm doing is teaching myself from a different perspective. And so how wonderful and how great is that? You know, and I think that if you shift your mind, if you shift your understanding and your perception of the way you view life, you might you might start to grasp that concept even on a deeper level. One of the biggest traps of life lessons is thinking that you've experienced it, that that's all there is to know. Because I'm going to tell you, there never is. There's always further down the rabbit hole you can go. There's always something new that you can learn. I don't care if you've had 10 billion lives and, you know, 50 million of them were here, and 100 million of them were on Sirius, and 100 million of them were in Orion, and 100 million of them were on Draco, and all that, and you know, and the Draco constellations and all this. No. So when we gain this experience, when we start to understand that and we start to shift that, that's all of a sudden when we're going to gain that knowledge. One of the best things that I do, or what I shouldn't say that, one of the best things that I like to do is to watch others. Why? Because that information changes based on each person's personality, based on each person's there. I can learn about my life lessons by watching others. I can learn by understanding, hey, let me watch this person, because that information is me, just in a different perspective. That person is going through me. That's why we flock together, right? Birds of a feather flock together. Tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are, because we gravitate to those that are going to feed us. They're either going to keep us at a low vibration and a messy vibration and that, or we're going to flock towards people. And as we grow and we evolve, all of a sudden new friends come towards us, and you know, and those type of things. And in my life, friends change out all the time. That doesn't mean I don't love the people that I used to be friends with. I absolutely do. But you know, as you grow, as you evolve, as your energy and vibration change, you're going to want to seek out all these things. So watching people teaches me about my own vibration. It teaches me about myself, because I watch how people interact with each other. I watch how they react to each other. I watch how they fight. I watch how they bicker. I watch how they take things personally. And then it teaches me, well, if all these people are me, and I want to learn about myself, because I know in past lives and even in this life, I've experienced that, or I've been upset, and I've been those people, you know, yelling and screaming and stuff like that. How can I watch this to learn? What information can I translate so that I'm able to do that? Because like I said, life, you can read all the books you want, you can learn all the knowledge you want, but if you don't have the experience behind life lessons, then what is it that we're actually going to learn? Because experience makes us understand. And that's one of the reasons why there's certain beings, and I'm not going to get into all that. That's one of the reasons why there's certain beings that live in certain dimensions that they can see certain things, but they can't experience it. They can see certain things like past, present, future. They can understand what's going on in different dimensions, but they haven't experienced it, so they aren't able to gain that wisdom. They're not able to gain. They're able to look at it like as if we're watching TV and understand it mentally. But here is where we're truly trying to understand something, because here in the heart is is the biggest portal of information that we're really trying to gain. We'll be right back after these messages from I Am Evolution.
The human experience is changing, and consciousness is evolving into something higher than any of us could ever imagine. As we transform into more sentient beings, a new world of connected consciousness is taking place. Welcome to I Am Evolution, the movement in human development that transforms the human experience into a deeper consciousness through perspective and duality. Are you ready to be a part of the next stage in human evolution? Call I Am Evolution today to schedule your appointment at 561-318-0006. That's 561-318-0006. Or email us at iamevolution@protonmail.com.
All right, everybody, we are back, and if you're just joining us for the very last part, welcome. But, guys, we are learning so much information. This show, I really want you guys to go over it as many times, because there's going to be so much information for us to understand. I think we're going to make this a two-part show, because, honestly, I'm only into page 5 of 25 pages of notes here, and I think we're probably going to make this a two-part show, so don't worry about it if you don't get in everything. But yeah, so the heart is one of the main portals in our body. It's one of the main we associate it with fire, and it's one of the main sections of our soul, of our spirit, of our consciousness, that information that travels through and to. And so this idea, this portal, allows us to experience everything. That's why the heart is is one of the main components in understanding evolution. When we focus on it, and when people say, "Oh, especially the mind, is logical. It takes pictures. It's photographic. It goes and it tries to piece things together like a puzzle. But it only sees the picture. It has no understanding. It's just like a picture. If you posted up a picture, the computer doesn't understand that that's a picture. It just says, here's the picture you wanted. But us, we can sit there and we can look at something and say, oh man, I remember that. I remember when that happened, and we start to fill with emotion, we start to cry, or we start to feel happy, and then it takes us down memory lane, and we start to remember all these other things, because information comes through here. This is where we grow. This is where we understand, not here. And this is why, no matter how smart you are, hey, like I said, the degrees, the IQ, but no matter how smart we are up here, if we're not smart here, and we're not willing to be open here, if we're not willing to understand what is here in the heart, then we don't understand. This is where knowledge becomes wisdom. It's not up here. You could read something 1,000 times and then just say, "Oh yeah, I'm so wise because I know everything." No. I know plenty of people that can spout out information like a Wikipedia or something like that, but have no wisdom, no emotional aspect of it, no knowledge here to grasp what it is they're talking about. And to a lot of people, man, they sound like the greatest thing since sliced bread, but when you break things down. So remember, life lessons is about this. It's about understanding. It's about reading. It's about reading and understanding the information that is coming into you. If we're learning the information that's coming to us, then we start to break away from the ideas of being a victim. We start to break away from the ideas of life is out to get me and life was working for me. Because when we become conscious of who we are, we realize that everything that we're experiencing is a reflection of our own ideals, what we're here to gain. So the moment I come into Earth, the moment I come here to the third dimension and I start to grow, I am projecting through my own consciousness everything that I need to see, hear, and experience. And that's why that's why there's no such thing as coincidence. That's why everything that's happening. So everything that you're experiencing is put there by yourself through you, and all the walls, all the limitations, all the veils, so that you can sit there like a puzzle and try to figure it out. And that's where we have to start becoming. That's why I say, that's why I teach so much about the emotional aspects. That's why I teach the people that, hey, your emotions aren't real. You have to grow past them. You have to grow to understand what these things are, because nothing in this dimension is real. It's all projection from the sixth dimension in here. And we know that the sixth is projection through the seventh, through the eighth, through the ninth, what we call the divine, the universe, God, the void, whatever you want to call it, and that, which is us. And so this information is constantly being produced by us because it allows us to gain that. So remember, the moment you gain the moment you go into an emotion like anger, sadness, grief, happiness, joy, whatever you want. And at the moment depression, the moment you start to do this is the moment when you close down and shut down the capabilities of understanding. The information is coming through, but because you're saying, no, I'm taking this too personal. I don't want this experience. This makes me feel uncomfortable because I don't understand it. It's like a child cleaning the room. If you're a parent out there, this is something you parents will probably enjoy. When you're a parent and you have a young child and stuff, and you're like, hey, clean the room, they pout. Right now, is cleaning the room really that terrible of a thing? As adults, many of us like our places clean. We have to clean up. We understand that's part of life. But as a child, they don't understand that. So they whine, they kick, they scream, they throw tantrums. Well, that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing with your stuff. The information, the universe, your own, which is you, is telling yourself, hey, go clean your room. This is a lesson that you have to learn. And you have to pick up all these pieces of the puzzle and put them together and understand this information. And when you take it personally, when you become the victim and you do this stuff, really what you're doing is you're throwing a tantrum. You're throwing a pouty tantrum saying, hey, I don't want to learn this because I don't understand this. And I just want to play and have fun and make the superficial things that make me happy, like money and relationships and all these things. And then because we're chasing things that can't make us happy or temporarily make us happy, that's why we give our power over. That's why we give our ideas over. That's why we reject so many things in life. And then we pray to a god, a goddess, a universe, a bull, a cow, whatever, and that thinking that it's just going to give me whatever I want, like a magical genie, because I don't want to put in the work to understand this stuff. And this is why in order for us to gain who we are as self, we have to go through this. Because one of the biggest questions that people ask me about life lessons is they're always like, Miss Raina, why do we have to go through this? Because we have to go through all that chaos. We have to go through all that rejection, all that hate, all that frustration, because all that teaches us how much we really truly want ourselves. If we didn't experience those things, then we can't experience other aspects. Because remember that life is about polarity. Remember, there's a positive aspect and a negative. And for those of you that are new to the show, I don't mean positive as in good and negative as in bad. I mean polarity. And that, like, of the feminine aspect and the masculine aspect, masculine, which is positive, goes out and does, and that the feminine aspects, which is negative, goes inward to understand and develop and to push out, to recognize, to say, hey, this is stuff I need to look at to grow. And so you have to be able to go through that in order for you to gain the sense of awareness. Because I just take anything in your life. If you did not go through something in your life, would you have the knowledge that you have now? You wouldn't. So it's the same aspect, and that's why we live so many lives, is because many of us, we spend our times fighting this information. We don't want to experience it because we take it personal. We don't like emotions because I don't want to cry. I don't want to be upset. I don't want to do this. I'm unconscious because in most people, we live unconscious. We are unconscious beings, not subconscious. Subconscious reminds us. The subconscious is the voice that says, "Hey, you need to be doing this. Hey, this is not right for us. We need to be going down this path." The unconscious mind says, "You know what? Life is mean. It's nasty. Everybody's nasty. I need to get mine. I need to get my money. I need to look cool. I need to have my BMW, my Mercedes. I need to have fancy rings. I need to look all prodded up. I need to do whatever." The unconscious mind, when I talk about, remember the ego and the survivor, well, the survivor is the unconscious mind. It's the one that says, I need to survive this place. I need to go in. I need to survive because the world is out to get me and I don't want to die. I'm afraid to die. Well, you're afraid to die because you think that this is real. You think that you are real. But this is just a hologram of a projection that your soul or your spirit decided to create so that it could bring here, so it could learn to grow to be itself. That's all it is. And once you get that aspect on the heart level, what ends up happening is that you don't fear these things. You don't have these, and you become conscious. That's why many people mistake consciousness, the definition of what consciousness truly is, or how growing in consciousness is what it's about. If you have to push your way on somebody, if you have to prove yourself, if you fear death, if you fear life, if you have to constantly chase things, and you are living an unconscious life because you fear emotions, you fear being angry, you're tired of it, you fear relationships, you fear these things, you fear life, you fear a God not getting into a heaven, or you fear a made-up thing like the devil and all that because you're afraid to, and that is an unconscious way of living. So the shift is the battle between the conscious, the unconscious, and the subconscious. Because the subconscious is saying, hey, constantly reminding us, hey, I'm here to learn these things. Hello, knock, knock, knock. Hello, earth to David, earth to Erica, whoever, earth to Miss Raina. Hello, pay attention to me. And that is what we call things like the gut feeling or our instincts, or when we know we should be doing something and we're not. Instead, we're sacrificing ourselves because we'd rather live unconsciously than conscious. So the subconscious is constantly reminding us that these lessons that are coming in, that what we're experiencing, that all these things that we're experiencing are to help us grow. So really, to be honest with you, the true battle of the life lessons is just switching your ideas from being unconscious survival method to being conscious. Stop looking at lessons and life as survival. You don't need to survive because guess what? You're infinite. You're always going to be around. It doesn't matter if this body dies. Yeah, I get it that death, or I should say transition, can be scary to the unconscious mind because it believes that this is real. And yes, even in that moment of something, yes, everyone experiences a little bit of fear because truly you don't know what's happening. You don't know what's going on. The moment you get over there, you're like, oh, yeah, I feel all types of love. Let me go back over through this light. Let me talk about this. Let me meet my family. Let me have and then all of a sudden you become conscious again and you realize, oh yeah, I'm this spherical being in these dimensions working through this dimension, that dimension, and in order for me to do this, I have to reincarnate. I have to create this thing we call being into the third dimension, into this physical dimension, and then do it all over again and over and over and over. So the mind of life lessons, if we understand and we start to grow and we take the information in, then we become conscious, we become aware, we start to grow, we start to expand our minds outward, and we start to expand our mind inward, because all of this is all this information right here, all of this, everything you want to know about the universe is already in here, because this is the universe itself. All the cells, all the fluids, all the tendons, the ligaments, everything is a network of universes. The chakra systems, everything that's happening, the way your heart beats, the liver, everything that works in with each other is all a universe. And if you want to understand out there, then you have to start learning the information, the life lessons that you're learning, and bring it in here and realize the information that you already are. All right, everybody, I think I'm going to stop there. And I left my little pad over there. I don't know if I don't feel like going to get it. So, but I really hope you guys enjoyed this show. If you guys know anybody that would enjoy this, please share it. The only way we're going to grow, the only way we're going to help spread consciousness to other people is through you lovely people. And I would really, truly appreciate it if you did. As always, you can follow us on our Facebook at facebook.com/transcendental transformation. YouTube is the same exact thing. Visit my website, soulandspiritguide.com, and sign up for the newsletter and receive VIP access to hidden shows, special guests. We're going to start having special guests coming back on the show. A lot of times they offer private gifts and everything. So if you're on the newsletter for that, you guys will be first privy to all that stuff. And if you guys have any questions about this show or any other questions, or just want to talk or anything, please email me at transcendentaltransformations, that's plural at the end, at gmail.com. And always remember to believe in yourself. It's not our abilities or our talents that make us who we are, but it is our choices. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.